Yesterday I was listening to some of the past podcast episodes, and actually I remember that the first that we recorded for Redefine the Game was with actor, and I just realized that I start all the podcast episodes, all the conversations with what I believe is one of my favorite questions. But before going there, welcome to the Redefine the Game podcast, Grace. It's really an honor to have the chance to talk with you, to get to know you a little bit more. And going back to the question, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. The sun's shining, which always makes me feel better. How are you feeling?
Well, I will use your words. The sun is shining, summer is coming. But yeah, I totally agree with you that the weather makes everything better. And just to jump right into the conversation, I would say that the main goal of this conversation, based on your experience, is kind of like this: how to build kind of this slow brands
Mm.
in a fast pacing
Mm.
world. Like in the last few months, you have been working, building what I believe is one of the most genuine creative brand presences on the internet. So you are the head of marketing at Unplugged, and we are talking about a company that exists to somehow take people off the internet. And I really would like to start here,
Mhm.
like because I think that there's this tension where your digital presence is so creative, so amazing, so different, but somehow the mission is okay, we are here digitally, but we want
Mm.
you to go out.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that tension?
Yeah, it's tricky, and the irony definitely isn't lost on me or us as a brand that we're marketing online with the aim of getting people offline. But in modern day, it's the easiest way to reach people, and also reaching people at the source of frustration, because scrolling habits, whether it's emails, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, has got to a point where it's so habitual now for a lot of people that they don't quite realize when they're picking up their phone and scrolling, because of the way that they've been designed, a way that our life is completely surrounded by devices. So a lot of the time when people are on social media, they don't really want to be on it. They just kind of find themselves there. So we're aiming to be a voice that kind of reminds people that they don't need to be on their phones all the time, and that life is possible by living offline, even though it might feel quite tricky to do that in 2026 or even in the last really 20 years. So balancing, I suppose the irony is one of our superpowers. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
secret sauce. So when you are saying something but kind of doing something else, it irritates people a little bit. But we're there with completely good intentions. We're not trying to market online to guilt ride people, to make anybody feel bad for the habits, because there are bad stats out there. We're just kind of there to say, hey, we're with you, we get it, but there is a version of your day where you don't have to sit on your phone every single day. We want to do that softly and slowly, um, but also be able to kind of cut through the noise. And when you're surrounded by a lot of brands, a lot of creators, there's so many people putting content out in the world right now, that actually you find that there's a little craving for quieter spaces of the internet, where it's not all about like fast paced videos, really hooky clickbaity hooks. And especially with AI now like infiltrating our feeds, people are really looking for that, I would say.
Hmm.
And we're trying to kind of be that voice across different platforms.
What like before Unplugged, and I'm curious to hear from you. Like, what was your relationship with marketing? Like, what did you think it was supposed to be
Is in for unplugged or just in general?
before Unplugged?
Uh, I mean, I had a bit of an untraditional route into marketing. Um, I started off a bit confused of what I wanted to do with life. I actually went to uni and did law and then stepped into the corporate world for a little while and absolutely hated everything about it. So I've always been a very creative person at heart, and marketing and brand was a natural step for me in that. Obviously, I stepped onto a lot of different stones before I found Unplugged. And when I joined at the start, it was 4 years ago now, the concept of Unplugged, the product, the kind of sex appeal of the cabins, but were paired with an incredibly strong mission that at the time, 4 years ago, wasn't. Digital detoxing was very niche. It wasn't something that people really did very often. And the concept of locking your phone away was really polarizing. But as I started Unplugged, I was like, there's so much we could do here. And I always had that attitude of going in being like, we can do a lot to raise awareness here, but I never, ever, ever wanted to develop the brand to be in anything hard hitting or guilt tripping, more of a soft awareness. And always, I think that when you're trying to talk about very serious topics and things that impact people, like their brains, their relationships, everything, you kind of need to be there with them. And that was always the aim with Unplugged, is being like, we're not this one size fits all solution, but we're here to kind of help and guide you. So that was, I think, how I kind of went into the brand. Yeah.
Okay, and did you have to like kind of like unlearn from everything you knew about marketing to do this job
I think you
the way
have
you
to
do?
unlearn and learn every day within marketing. It's ever changing, especially now. Like a year and a half ago, AI didn't exist, and now it's everywhere. And marketing is a creative art. It's something that paired obviously with a little bit of psychology and numbers behind it, but really I see it as being a way that you can deliver a message in different ways. And a lot of principles fall out of the window whether it's you see how quickly trends
Yeah.
change. Like something that's trending on Monday is old news by Friday. So I think there's sometimes a power in not sticking yourself too strictly to principles and things within marketing. Obviously, there's always going to be a backbone and a spine of the things that you do and what channels and how they work, but things change so quickly that I think flexibility is a superpower, because if you stay in the same lane and you do the same things over and over again, it gets old quite quickly because everything is so noisy and people copy you very quickly. So you have to keep innovating. And being flexible and reactive is how you kind of stay relevant. And the way that we delivered a message 2 years ago is very different how we deliver that now, because the world changes.
But actually, that makes me feel, and I've shared already, like off that, for example, your newsletter is one of the only newsletters that I read, and the way what I because what I feel is that when we look at most of the newsletters, they are so transactional,
Mm,
and there's no like value beyond it.
mm,
And what I feel is that based on your mission, you add value based on that mission. It's
yeah,
more like, we know that people have problem A, B, C, and let's talk about it. That's
yeah,
what I really like in your newsletter, because again, even when we think about like this purpose driven, mission driven experience, brands that are really trying to solve problems, having a product but going beyond it, I feel that, for example, most of the newsletters are very, very transactional. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the trends, and we know that the damn algorithm, based on the principles, they like the algorithm rewards frequency,
Mm.
urgency, volume. But what I feel, and looking at all the posts that you do, like Grace or from Unplugged, is you kind of like you seem that you kind of have made peace ignoring this.
Yeah.
How you do that?
I mean, I'm not anti trend at all because there is a, if a brand gets involved with certain trends, whether it's a social media trend or like terminology trend, it does make it adds a little bit of a human layer of going, hey, we're also people behind here. We see the trends and we're part of it. It's just being very selective of which ones you do align yourself to, because if you just become a trend machine where you see a different account that's done this certain format and it's working really, really well, and then you recreate it, but it doesn't align to your brand, it just doesn't feel authentic. But there are certain trends that come out that are so aligned to us that we're like, we should definitely do this because it makes us feel more human and relatable because we're getting involved within it. But it's just using it very sparingly. And as we've developed our social media strategy and how we show up on different channels, that's evolved. So as we've learned more, we've looked at more data, we've looked at things that work, that resonate with people. And when I'm looking at things like that, it's not just the performance of how many views something's got. It's the quality of the comments, it's what people are doing that provides value. And that's where I always want us to be a value driven brand. And trends have a purpose, but they're not something that's going to continue to provide value to your audience. And that's where you touch on the newsletter. It's very soft. We don't try and sell. Unplugged is the best thing ever. It's going to change your life, and try and convert people into booking. And there's a lot of people that read our newsletter that have never stayed with us, and that's fine. I honestly just want people to feel like they're getting something from us, whether it's being able to stay in a cabin or not. So we have that approach across all of our channels of just delivering value in one way or another. And our newsletter is one of my favorite things. I love sitting and writing that every week. It's kind of my quiet time. I love it. And it's picking relevant topics that, yeah, I actually might pick up from hearing a certain trend or like certain things that are going on in the world, but diving into it a little bit deeper. So yeah, it's kind of being picking and choosing where we align to certain things, and making sure it's authentic to us as a brand.
And talking about the newsletter, is there any like looking back to the past 4 years, is there any campaign or piece of content that you are most proud of? Like not because obviously not because of the numbers,
Yeah.
but because like it fell most true to what Unplugged is.
Do you know what? And over the last 4 years, it feels like an easy answer for me to actually reply last week's. But last week we tackled the topic of over-optimization,
Yeah.
and I feel quite passionately about that topic, uh, and dived into it quite deep. And it's a little bit on the edge as well, because it's a strong opinion piece of saying that the wellness industry is pretty broken because it's clearly not working. It's the biggest industry it's in years. I think it's the fastest growing in the last decade or something. That might not be a fact, but it's very, very big industry. But it's not serving us because it's monetizing and creating problems that then people saying that they can fix it with one single supplement, and we're trying to rely on data over our intuition, and that is a dangerous place to be, I think. So that's probably the piece I've been most interested in. And it feels a little bit braver to talk about something when you're well within the wellness industry. You're doing exactly what you're saying isn't great, and being a little bit anti the way that it's currently set up. And I do think that it's been overcomplicated. I don't think we need to track our sleep scores. I think we could just feel about how tired we are when we wake up, because it becomes obsessive, and you start making decisions about how you're going to live on how good you're going to get and what quality sleep you're going to get. And I don't think that is aligned to how we feel. I mean, Hector and I have spoken about it at lengths, that we should be living for joy, really. And life doesn't need, like, your wellness doesn't need to be complicated. I don't think you need 15 different supplements to feel good. I think you just need to eat well, move, be in nature, rest. And all of those things, ironically, are quite free.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that's probably the most interesting topic for a while, that I've been really kind of. It's massive though, so
Yeah.
you could keep talking about it for ages, and trying to keep that within a manageable word count can be quite hard.
Talking about over optimization, what do you feel that, and now looking more from a brand building marketing point of view, what do you feel that, what does Unplugged say no to that you feel that most brands say yes?
I mean, tech, the obvious one. We're very simple, and we always stay true to our core product, which is going offline and in nature. We're never going to move away from that. And we've, right from the start, which is kudos to Hector and Ben, stayed very tight to digital detoxing as our product, which has been a big strength of the brand, because our vehicle is a cabin and in nature, but we're bigger than that product. We're talking about a much bigger topic, and aligning ourselves with that, and kind of like bringing. I'd love to say that we've had a part of bringing a lot more awareness into being conscious of screen time, but we won't shift from certain principles from day one, which is locking your phone away, being offline, and also fixing our stays at 3 nights. It might not make business sense there, but we have to stay true to the experience and the science of going, actually, when you go away, it's not day one that you're going to feel great. Stay 2 and 3 or 4. So we've been very adamant of staying true to that. So we won't really say no to people saying you should add tech into here or whatever. I think it's a strength to stay true to your mission and your product, and I don't think we'll move from it.
I believe, and thank you so much for that answer. I believe that you being the head of marketing and looking at the whole Unplugged team, sometimes we, and this happens with terms like community or purpose or slow brands, and knowing that obviously when we look at these purpose driven, community driven brands, it's not only like a beautiful work, because in the end of the day you need to make money to survive,
Yeah.
but there's this tension, there's this there's this balance. And but when we look at at Unplugged, we have this extra layer where, again, going back to the start of the conversation, you have this tension between, we want people to go off, we want people in the end to go to our cabins, but it's a little bit more than that. For you, in terms of mindset, in terms of principle, because your job, looking at our fellow social media managers, community managers, it's a bit hard. Like
Yeah,
working at social media is difficult, but in your case, again, you are trying to make people go slow, go out of like go to nature, but again, presence, awareness, even to sell experiences
yeah,
so that people can go to the cabin. It's all digital where you have stress, noise, AI,
yeah,
A, B, C, D. How hard is your job and how do you balance this? You know, like we know that we really want people to go out
yeah.
knowing that they need to use social media to get to know us. Like Grace the juggler. So how do you do this?
I mean, how hard is my job? I am incredibly fortunate to have a product that speaks for itself in beautiful locations with incredible imagery. And a lot of locations do sell themselves. I don't really need to do very much because I just show how beautiful it is and people want to go. But balancing the ethos that I'm kind of preaching is a strong word, but saying over and over every day through content whilst being in marketing is tricky because I have to be on social media. I would love to delete social media. I don't think it's healthy. I think it wastes time. And I'd love to not have it, but I can't because of my job. So I'm very conscious about what I consume, how long I spend on devices, and also where I look to get inspiration from, because I think that's a massive thing where people within marketing, social media, screen time can be very high of creating your own content, but there is a uh, excuses are the wrong word. But people, it's very easy to find inspiration on social media because you can search keywords, you can scroll for a little bit, you can train your algorithm. So you find yourself looking for creative inspiration within the device. And it's there's so many more places to find creative inspo than social.
Where?
And I think that's something when I go on my stays. So we're very lucky to have a digital detox when we need it. When I go away for 3 days and I'm sat doing nothing, is where ideas will pop, not when I'm sitting at my laptop, whether it's a walk, whether it's sat doing kind of nothing. And also looking outside of your category, your industry, whether it's in an art gallery, whether it's on a walk, like there's inspiration in so many more places than within the device. And I think if you only use that as your source of inspiration, you can get caught into just becoming a bit of a trend machine and copying a lot of people. So, yeah, it's hard to balance when you're working within marketing behind a screen and telling people to get off it. But it's taught me so much. Even the newsletter that I write, there is so much I have learned from researching and speaking to experts within the space, and understanding the problem and how your phones work helps you do it less because you're not just being told by Unplugged on Instagram to switch your phone off. You're understanding that how your brain works, and that gives you motivation to do it more. So yeah, there's a balancing act um, of getting it right. But we're again saying I'm lucky a lot. I'm very very grateful to work for Unplugged and hence being here for a few years. The culture that Hector sets with spending time offline and not messaging on Slack at 11 p.m. with something urgent. We've got a very good work-life balance with that, and I feel very grateful for
Hmm.
it. It helps separate work and time off.
Can you, well, obviously you don't need to do a master thesis on this, but can you walk me through how an idea coming from the team becomes a post, like from this first thought
Yeah.
to publishing?
We're a very lean team, so it doesn't have to go up many steps to come back down, and I think that's very helpful to be able to have an idea and then put it into play very quickly. Um, we've recently hired a social media lead. Again, I understand the irony of that's us. There's only two of us in the marketing team, me and my colleague Imo. So we'll sit and talk around things that we feel that we've seen, our cabin experience, everything that kind of collectively comes under us and what we're trying to achieve. And then we'll brainstorm how niche we can make certain things. And niche has been our kind of word of the month, word of the year, where the more specific you can be, the smaller the post. I suppose that's not the right way to put it, but the more specific you are, the more it resonates. So there's huge topics that we could talk about, and we will never really attack anything in a general way. We'll go and try and kind of distill it down into something that feels manageable, bite-sized, easy to understand, simplify complicated things, and make it easy for people to go, do you know what, you're right, as opposed to trying to make anything too big and too broad. So we'll take something like nervous system regulation, which is a massive part of our experience, and go, okay, how can we make this valuable for people? And then we'll have a few different posts that will come off of that topic. So we'll go how hour stays can regulate your nervous system. Then we'll have how a dysregulated nervous system actually feels, because I don't really know if I'm regulated or dysregulated. How does that's a feeling that's really hard to put into words. Can we try and put it into words so people can understand that? Then let's do the opposite of that. What does a regulated nervous system feel like? And then something within those topics, we always try and have an in cabin and an out of cabin, like normal life version. So that means that we've got over 200,000 followers on Instagram, for example. Not all 200,000 of those people are going to be able to stay at a cabin. So how can we then distill that into a way that people that can't stay in our cabins can digest? And we'll try and balance out as well how much we talk about us. So it's very easy to train your social media to become a bit of a shop front, but no one really wants to see the same picture over and over again. That an incredible example of a company that does that really well is Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like, you go onto their social media channels, you're not seeing a can 4,000 times. You're seeing things that resonate against their brand that people can do and feel entertained by. That isn't about an energy drink.
Are you cautious about, because again, in the end, we need to make money as a business. We need to make money, but are you cautious about like being this value driven, mission driven? Well, because in the end, you are. It's not only a product; it's an experience.
Mm.
Are you cautious about like the words you use? Because again, you don't want to sound like you are selling a product, but it's more like this transformation you are
Yeah.
trying to sell. Are you cautious about the words you use?
Yeah. We've got words that we use and that we don't use. But ultimately, our tone of voice is very human. Is a word that every brand loves to say, but we try to be. We avoid complicated words that people don't understand. We avoid buzzwords. We don't tend to use CTA language within social media, especially. Like, we don't have book now everywhere you look. But we also don't stick to grammatical rules.
Yeah.
We add letters to words that don't need four T's. So we'll actively try and sound as human as we can, by adding tone. I think there's like tone is probably more important to us than having a word list or blacklist. So you'll probably see in our post we'll say but, we'll write but we'll put four T's at the end of it. It just feel you can communicate through words that aren't spelt right, or they speak, you read like a human would write, and especially in AI now. That's actually, there are words that we don't use because they are overused by AI.
Yeah.
Quietly is the one that I'm seeing everywhere at the moment. If I see the word quietly, I know that that's been chat GPT'd.
Is there any, like, what was the worst idea you almost published?
The worst idea that we almost published. Oh, I don't know. What was bad? I did once, around Christmas time, did things to do around Twixmas that we actually did publish. That was a kind of, it touched on getting food out of the fridge, where you have a bit too much in, and that was in the early days that I was working at Unplugged, and found that it's probably a topic that can be quite triggering for people when you talk about food in different ways. So we don't tend to touch that anymore, just because it's a sensitive topic. So anything that could be triggering, we tend to avoid. So we don't do anything around that anymore.
If you could change one thing about how brands show up online, what would it be?
If I could change one thing, how brands show up online.
Based on your experience, like this 4-year experience, with the irony that it's very unplugged. It looks like that last year the word of the year was brain rot. For you, this year is
Yeah.
going to be niche. Like, based on your experience, based on the mission of the brand, because
Yeah.
in the end, it would be amazing now to see. I really want you to stay working with the actor and the team at Unplugged for many many years. But I would like to see you, Grace, like working for another brand and to see like your mindset, your principles, all the things that you learn with Unplugged with another brand, because that could change,
100%.
So I feel that there's quite a match between you and the brand. But if you could change one thing from what you learned through these past 4 years on how brands could show up online,
I would say that to not try and appeal to the masses, that your audience that are actually gonna be your fans and buy from you and support you are not going to be everybody. So the same as you don't, like, I don't get on with every single human on the planet, and not everybody gets on with me. We all kind of create our own little communities. And I'd say for brands is not trying to go for everybody and diversify so much away from your core product to try and fit a few different people that you think you should create for. I think the strongest brands really know their audience. They know who is going to resonate with their posts, who's going to be their super fans, and they talk to them directly. They don't try and be generic. And also just to be a little bit brave, I'd say. And don't just contribute to the same stuff that's happening everywhere. Stay true to yourself and push the boundaries a little bit. Because, yeah, I'd probably say that. It's quite a hard question, but I really like it. I'm going to keep thinking about that.
okay, okay. Well, here's an idea for a post.
There we
So,
go.
and like one thing that I really like is I see many brands, even the ones like uh, like the last brand with that I work with, sometimes doing content just because,
Yeah.
and because the feed must be beautiful and there's no meaning
Mm.
behind the content beyond being transactional,
Yeah.
here's our product. Unplugged is somehow helping people to scroll less. And there's a big difference between creating content and an experience and building a brand
Mm.
for people to scroll and content to grab the attention of the audience. So, in your opinion, what does a brand have to do to earn the attention of the audience? And here, it's not to earn the scroll,
Yeah.
but to earn the attention. Because again,
Yeah.
your content to appear on the feed, that's fine. But to
Mm.
actually, this sounds interesting, I want to know more. And from that, using a very marketing cliche term, the funnel. So
Mm.
just to going from, oh, this is actually good. I really want this appeals to
Yeah.
me. Or thinking about one of my favorite books, The Emotion by Design from Greg Hoffman, the former CMO from Nike, is like to be emotional by design.
Mm.
What do you think that a brand must do to grab attention? Again, based on the data that you have from Unplugged and based on your experience, based on the irony that you use.
Yeah. I think grabbing attention and earning attention, very different things, because you can clickbait and you can have really hard hitting hooks that can grab attention. Um, but earning it is harder and it takes consistency. And like you mentioned on transactional posts, it's everything that you're putting out. We have a kind of like an internal test between us where we go, would you send this to a friend? Would you save it? Would you find value in this? And if you don't, it's a post for a post's sake. So there's no point putting that out there. And so by filtering what you're putting out into the world, of making sure that it's helpful or it's entertaining or it's educational, you then earn that attention, that when you do post something, people go, okay, I really liked the last two posts that you put out and I saved those because they were really helpful. I'm going to give you the attention for this one. And also where you align as a brand in different channels. Like, we've spoken quite a lot around social media, but so many other places that you can show up that will also help people's attention. So brand partnerships is a big one for us.
Yeah.
We align with a lot of different brands, big and small, that are that share the same ethos as us, sometimes more than others. But aligning with brands that also warrant attention because they're doing great things, you can kind of borrow the audience there. And then they go, okay, well, if you're aligning to this really cool brand that I really like, and I give them my attention and I give them my money, you're probably also a pretty cool brand. So there's a lot of different channels that you can kind of convince people that you're there to do good, and you're not just trying to spam people and hashtag commission paid and TikTok shop, which is just like commission, commission, commission. We're there to provide value and a slower type of content. And I think that's it. And consistency, again, I'm using all of these buzzwords, but consistency is so important, because that's where you earn trust in your normal life as a friend, right? If you consistently show up, you consistently give people time and your attention, you like them more, you spend more time with them, you feel valued by them.
Yeah.
So the same should apply to brands. And if you sell this something and then their actual experience is rubbish, they're not going to trust you again. So you have to make sure that you're consistent through your whole funnel, but also just making sure that you provide a really good product and experience, because then you'll continue to earn their attention and their loyalty as well.
Here's two last questions that while I was listening to you, and before we close, if like what's something you believe about brand building that most people in our industry would disagree with?
Um,
And you can answer being human. That's fine.
it's a hard question. If I suppose if you've got a great product and a strong mission, tone of voice, it's not that hard. If you can build, if you have a brand that really resonates with people, building it isn't that hard.
Here's one more personal. You are the head of marketing, the whom. And it's funny because it's a
Mhm.
okay. So uh, at Unplugged, or let's put it this way, Unplugged exists to slow people down,
Mhm.
even in a like this fast-paced, digital, noisy, whatever world. Has building this slow brand slowed you down
Yeah.
or sped you up?
Slowed me down overall, but as with life, it's waves. So there'll be periods where you'll have bigger waves where you kind of got to move quite quickly, and you have very busy weeks. But overall, it's helped me slow down massively, I'd say. I also kind of live in a much slower city now. I used to live in London, and now I live in Edinburgh. So the difference of speed in my surroundings has probably also helped with that. Um, but the messaging that we're putting out, I truly believe, and the science that backs it up, you can't question it. So I think it would be silly if I didn't listen to it and I didn't follow suit. So I'm definitely living much slower than I used to, for sure.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is very personal. For me, for me personally, I believe that I need an experience like to go out for 3 days without my cell phone. And actually, I feel that one of the reasons why I left normal last year was that I was almost feeling like burned out.
Yeah.
It's a 24/7 job, but
Mm.
again, that's why, at least for me, and this is one of the things that I'm trying to bring with Sense and Redefine the Game is, again, you don't need to follow other brands. You should stick with your mission, with
Yeah.
your principles. You can be brave, just like you've mentioned, and again, to serve people, your audience, and even without being 100% transactional and so on, and noisy and so on and so on. And what I really like with what you boys and girls are doing is exactly this. You really serve the audience. You
Mm.
really speak our language. um, and the mission is super super clear, and the way you do it, and you didn't pay me to say this, but it's very human. It's close
Mm.
to our hearts. You speak our language, and
Mm.
you are like there's a real match between the things you do and the things like
Yeah.
we the audience and the customers, we know that we need. So a big thank you for like not only to you but to the rest of the team. And I'm really looking forward to see what comes next.
Yeah.
And for me personally, just like I did a few weeks ago, if I have more ideas that you as a team you could try, because again,
Yeah.
I try to to add value, because again, even though we don't know each other personally, it's more like, again, because you talk human, we feel that you are like we are friends.
Yeah.
So a genuine thank you, not only for your time to have this conversation, but to all the work that you guys are doing. Okay, it's amazing, and I'm really here from Portugal cheering for you, and see more and more people enjoying what Unplug is offering.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a really lovely conversation. So thank you for your time as well and your questions. You got me thinking.
That's my goal. And again, even though this might sound cliche, I hope that this conversation helped you to continue to redefine the game on how, at least I believe, and I'm pretty sure that you also believe, brands should serve people, and we, as the ones that work with community experiences, social media marketing,
Mm.
the way we do our thing to serve the audience. So have a great Wednesday,
What
and
day it
yeah, let's keep in touch. Okay.
is? Sure. Well, thank you so much. That was really enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Speak soon.